Welcome to Birds of a Feather, where we decode the relationship patterns that drive our success. My name's Jeremy. I'm the co-founder of Feather, and today we're sitting down with Sarah Bogan, who started Maverick Advisory Services, and Sarah helps insurance startups, carriers, brokers, and tech partners build and execute key go-to-market strategies. Sarah's also an executive member at Chief. She founded their insurance vertical and has an extensive career leveling up the industry from consulting at PwC to running global alliances and leading insurtech companies. Now, Sarah, you and I connected first over LinkedIn pretty recently, and honestly, I was blown away by our first conversation. You showed up and you gave me 3 recommendations of books that my 3-year-old now adores. In real time, you introduced me to a few folks that are right in the ICP for Feather. And of course, you dropped some serious knowledge bombs about the insurance industry. So Sarah, you're an absolute wonderful person. You're generous, and your love of helping others is totally inspiring. So thank you so much for joining us today. And excited for our conversation.
I'm looking forward to it.
Awesome. So look, we typically start these off just kind of getting to know you a little bit more for the people that are listening. And so maybe we can kick off just hearing a bit more about Maverick Advisory Services and your vision for the company.
My vision for Maverick Advisory Services is to be able to help founders where they are, and more established companies as well, to be able to grow in a strategic way, by partnerships, leveling up in terms of their presence in the marketplace, and from a social media perspective, as well as their awareness of analysts and their interaction with analysts. So it's really building on the work that I've done, helping many vendors previously, and having been an industry analyst, as well as worked at a carrier. How can I help companies grow in a smart way that isn't overly cumbersome, in terms of requiring a large team behind them?
Yeah, that's awesome. And so, getting plugged into a bunch of different companies, I'd imagine there's context switching that's happening, different challenges, but also patterns. So like, what does the early engagement look like? How do you actually get, say you sit down with an insurance provider, right? How are you actually kicking off that conversation?
Well, it's just a matter of finding out what pain points people have and what problems they're trying to solve. And at this point, I just want to hear, what they're looking at. From a carrier perspective, it might be about giving recommendations or awareness of what's in the industry. From a vendor perspective, it's a matter of being able to talk about the different partners that they could partner with and the benefits of each, as well as how to maximize those relationships. I see a lot of people are able to create partnerships on paper, but how do you maximize and how do you make the most of it? My ultimate goal is, how do I help companies dominate their place in the marketplace? How do I get them to be market leaders? So it's not just about showing up, but it's showing up and claiming the title as well.
Yeah, it makes sense. And I like that you lead with just trying to figure out like what's really happening and how do you go build value and anchor value around that. I would imagine that in order to be a consultant at such like high quality engagements, you have to earn a lot of trust. It's not something that just everyone just opens up, hey, here's my top 10 strategies, and you go tell me how to fix all my problems. So maybe you could tell us a little bit about how are you establishing that trust early on when you're interacting with clients and people, partners, people within the network?
I think it's about the companies I've worked for and the experiences I've had, and my ability to pivot with them in terms of what they're talking about in many ways, and then just being very authentic and open if I don't have as much expertise in a certain area, because no one person knows it all. But at Allstate, I did the policy admin system strategy, and I managed research services across Allstate technology while I was there. So that, coupled with having worked at Novarica, having been a consultant, it just adds on to the different experiences I've had. And then building out partnership ecosystems, whether it's building out SI ecosystems, which are systems integrators that implement a certain technology, or building out, other, partnering with the policy admin system vendors as another partner. I've had so many different unique experiences, and I have the network that I think I'm able to establish credibility because I try to understand the problem that's being solved, and I have some of the background to be able to add to that, and then the network to be able to connect people and help. So I take that approach of how can I help first, rather than a transactional approach.
Yeah, I love it. I'm making some notes here, and you mentioned like authentic and open, and not claiming to know all answers, because like nobody does, and you lose credibility way faster than you earn it. It takes a lot of effort to build that trust, especially over periods of time. So I love everything that you're talking about, and one of the kind of core constructs that I'm picking up on is that the network. You mentioned the network. You and I met through networking. I know this is also an area where you're really passionate about. We'll talk about that in a minute. But like, tell me a little bit about how relationships in general have played a role in the course of your career.
I believe I told you about this one beforehand, but I think it's important to note that the only position I've ever gotten in my life that wasn't through a network was Allstate. And it was during a difficult time in the market, and it was through a job fair. Every other position I've had was created for me, or I was referred into it, and then they sought me out. I am very fortunate to have had that background, and I don't take that for granted. But I think networking has played a key part in that perspective, and having people who supported me and were sponsors of me created so much opportunity. It was even the case at Allstate. I never applied for my next position, but I had multiple very diverse, great positions at Allstate as I moved across the organization.
Yeah, and there's no doubt you still gotta keep your eye on the ball and kick ass in the role that you're in, and be good at what you do. But like, to be able to reduce the friction, having meaningful connections with people, like that helps to at least steer for sure. So I think that's great. And now, like, as we fast forward into, this is a new chapter, you're building a company, you're advising companies. Can you maybe share a little bit about how these relationships you've been building, like how are they showing up as you build up Maverick?
They're showing up because when I initially posted that I was looking for my next opportunity, the response was overwhelming. It was, and when I've been looking for a position, the community just comes out and says, "How can I help you?" I spend my time and my energy when I'm available helping people find jobs and networking, and that's a passion project of mine. I try to help the people around me when I'm working at a company, help the people around me be successful. And I believe that by doing that, my success will just come. So it frees me up from having to worry about my own success. I just worry about the people around me and how can we make us successful? And then how can I give back to my community? Because I love this InsurTech community. How can I give back? I've been fortunate enough that positions have been created for me. How can I give others the tool set to network and the understanding to be able to do the same and have the great fortune that I've had? And so that's what I focus on. And it's amazing how I'll be talking with people and they're like, "Sarah, how can I help you?" And I just say, "Nothing right now. I'm great. Things are great." But I know that I have this community of people who are here to support me and help me if I ever needed it.
Yeah, it's really, really powerful when you add value without asking for things in return, because like so many people are just used to the drive-by sales guy, sales girl, like, I got a widget, do you want to go buy the thing? No. Do you want some more of the other thing? No. Okay, I'll call you back in 6 months and see if you want some of whatever I got at that point. And it's just so transactional, to your point, that I really think, especially in a world where there's just like this massive blast of more posts, more content, more opportunities, more, we were talking about more technology that you could code in 10 minutes, like more options. It's just, how do people even come to decisions anymore? And I think, well, at least what we're betting on is that people are going to be increasingly leading with the relationship first. Like, do I actually trust you? Can I get access to you through building, do I know you? Is there some way that I've gotten introduced to you? Like, do we have a history together, or do I know somebody that I trust that knows you and trusts you? So I think that's really, really beneficial. And one thing that really stood out to me when we were first talking was just how your eyes lit up as you were talking about helping women create a more meaningful network in the industry. So I want to talk about maybe what you do from a conference standpoint second, but first, can you tell us a little bit about Chief, right? Like the organization, I happen to know about it. For those who don't, like, tell us a little bit about Chief and what's your experience been over there?
Chief is a women's executive organization that they've said, don't wait for a seat at the table, build your own table if you need to. So it's a very supportive ecosystem of other executive women who are cross industry. And we have several meetings that we can participate in terms of networking. There's opportunities if people want to be able to join boards to be on regular meetings where individuals share their experiences, and we've got people who are more experts sharing ideas and examples for that. And it goes along multiple different topic areas. There's a very entrepreneurial mindset there. And I'm also surrounded by so many women who have authored books, and some of them best-selling books. So it's one of those things where if you want to change your experience, change your environment, it was an amazing shift for me to officially join in January and to change my environment and see this whole new world of possibility and be surrounded by other women who are doing the same thing. Also with Bobby Shrivastava and Teresa Ramsey, we've built out the insurance group within Chief. And I'm so excited about it because our next topic is going to be about getting, women who've recently gotten promoted or changed jobs and what they did recently in order to improve their opportunities there, what they're doing going forward to set themselves up for success. Next month's conversations are going to be with Rose Hall and Tinsley English to talk about their experiences on podcasts and at industry conferences and their best practices and what they want to share, how they got to where they got to. Because what I want to see is I want to see more women taking charge of their careers and more women voices and more unique voices. It's not just women. I want more diverse voices at our conferences so that we can hear from more different companies, more different people, and have greater intelligence and experience shared at our conferences and in our community.
It's so cool. I love it. The drive to help, but then creating scaffolding and a structure around like-minded individuals through this organization. Man, like, talk about being able to amplify that message and that outcome. It's really, really cool. And the second thing I wanted to dive into is one of the things you mentioned to me is just being passionate about helping women be more effective and broaden their networks, be more effective at networking. And one thing that just like I loved was how you talked about it from in conferences. So can you tell us a little bit about like what that means to you, right? And I'd also love to hear like what do you see that are kind of some of the challenges that, hey, like, make your seat at the table. We have to go and break through some of these kind of core constructs here.
So, at a conference, we still have largely more men than women attending conferences. It's a great opportunity. It's an immense networking opportunity for people. And I think that it's an amazing opportunity for carriers to meet other carriers at conferences. So one of my last events, I think I was able to pull in around 28 of probably 38 were carrier women all networking together. And that's what I want to see. I want to get more opportunities out there for there to be more of a support network. Not just women, but let's start in pockets and create more and make these conferences more meaningful. So I've been working with some of my industry colleagues to schedule breakfasts around conferences, and we pull people in. For one, I asked someone if they were coming to a nearby conference, and they said, I just lost my job and I don't have a ticket. And we were able to get them a ticket, and by the end of the conference, they had several interviews lined up with other companies.
Exactly.
And so that, I'd never met her before, but I noticed that she had around 414 connections on LinkedIn, and I was like, I can help you. And so I started talking to her about, I asked to meet with her because we were just corresponding on LinkedIn. I asked to meet with her, said I can help you if interested. And then we were able to get her the ticket. We were able to do that. And then I was able to help her get best practices about how to network and how to best leverage LinkedIn.
That is, that was the story you told me. And I was really impressed by that. Just, again, another example of you just going out there and just helping somebody that candidly you just don't even know yet, right? But it's really awesome that you do that. And, you know, it's definitely a theme I'm picking up on. I want to hit on something I think is an interesting thing. So like networking has kind of it's almost like two sides to it. One can be really powerful, really intentional, really mutually beneficial, and a beautiful thing. And then the other side can be, let me shotgun spray and try and go and give everybody my card and go and, you know, so in some cases, networking has this negative stigma. Oh, you're like a career networker, right? So I'm curious to get your thoughts on that, and how do you balance the quantity with the quality when it comes down to it?
So there's a couple factors. While I network with a lot of people, I also make it my daily habit to reach out to anyone that is on LinkedIn that says that they have a birthday, if they have a promotion, or they have some sort of change that comes up in my catch-up area. So I try to stay integrated with my network. I also try to preserve and nurture my existing network. So I'm setting up regular cadences of meeting with my core network and some of the people, trying to build and maintain those relationships. So I think that it takes effort. Additionally, I think that a core rule of mine is that I only network with people that feel like they'd be additive to my network. And if someone does something that is of concern to me, I'll disconnect from them, from my network, because I don't want anything that would be negative for my network.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other core rule is, if somebody reaches out to me that is in my network with a reasonable request, I will honor it. So I will try to help in any way that I can, as long as it's a reasonable request.
So I'm gonna roll that back, because that was just literally, and we're gonna leave the audience with something to do at the end as well of this chat. But I'm gonna roll that back. So what I just took from that is, make it a habit and be intentional, and that means paying attention. Whether it's somebody's birthday, you know, I shared your birthday post, the one that you talked about. And then it's funny, after you and I talked, I got this email that came in from a mortgage broker I'd never worked with, that had like a very canned birthday message, didn't even address me by name, and, you know, and said that we appreciated doing business with you, but I had actually never worked with them before. And so like, all right, you got my birthday. So it's interesting, but like building that daily habit and paying attention to what's going on. And then investing in the 1 + 1 = 3, and thinking about who else and how else do these people kind of create momentum in the network. And then just your genuine, how can I help first mindset, right? So add value, bring like-minded individuals together, smart people, people who are motivated for, the right reasons together, and do it regularly. But you go figure, what a concoction for greatness there.
The other part is don't wait for them to ask you. So if I see an open for work sign, a lot of times I'll reach out.
Mm-hmm.
If, let me know if you'd like to meet, see if I can help you. I will check the number of connections they have. If they have a low number of connections, when somebody puts the open for work sign up and they have a low number of connections, it's like putting that open for work sign up at the back of their house and waiting for people to drive by. So I will absolutely reach out because I want to help in any way I can, and I can help show them how to network, how to reach out to the connectors in their network, and all those aspects to and even to help them reframe whatever's happened to them to be able to move on and to move forward. But I have reached out to many people to see if they needed help with, because that's what that sign is for. It's not for us to run away. It's for us to run to them and to help them.
Yeah, I love that. But there's also some constraints. Like if we're really being real, you've got a lovely family, just came off of a great vacation. So there's some you time that's important. Hopefully a little sleep there, and maybe, eating, working. Like we only can make 24 hours in a day. And if you find a way, Sarah, to make more than that, like I'll stop Feather right now. We can go sell more time to people, because that is you just can't extend the clock at all. So the question that I have is, within the constraints that you have, which are you only have a certain amount of time, and there's always a lot going on. Like you almost have 9,000 connections. How do you actually stay on top of the pulse? So there could be a lot of people who have a open to work idea. How do you stay relevant to them? How do you keep that in motion and it's not just that one and done kind of interaction?
I follow up sometimes and I see how it's going. I've had even people with college grads send their kid to me or post something, and I've met with them, and I think it's a matter of just, if their name pops up again, follow up, but make myself available. The reality is people don't want to ask for help, and they don't reach out as much as you think they would. Mm-hmm. It's not that burdensome. And the response that you get when people genuinely need help but get it is what gives you energy to do more. So it's not that overwhelming. And I'm not looking for people to come to me to be transactional about it. When they really need help, they really need help. And it's not a transaction. It's really just a matter of figuring out what and how we can help them.
Yeah.
A lot of times, honestly, it's about them realizing that it's situational and it's not them. It's about reframing the experience. It's about helping them with how they're going to process and phrase what happened to them. It's about knowing who they can reach out to and thinking about different ways of how they can reach out to people in their community to make it happen. A lot of times it's not even using my network.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Just being there and just being able. Well, actually, that brings up a really funny story that happened to me yesterday. That I was thinking about, like, when's a really good time to weave this in? But this is perfect. So I came out of the office yesterday. It was like 6 o'clock. My amazing wife was with my daughter and our son at a kid's birthday party, and they were doing dinner. So I was going to go grab a little bite. I went over to the local market. They have great sushi grade fish, and so I was going to go pick up some sushi and I was going to make some myself. And as I got there, I started talking to this guy, and he was cracking jokes and I was cracking jokes, and we just started kind of building some sort of just levity into the conversation, and he offered to pay for my fish. And I was like, wow, like that's really kind of you to do that, but I'm buying bluefin tuna, so like it's all good. This isn't the cheap cut of fish that I'm trying to get here. But then as I was checking out, there was a guy behind me, and I've made a habit once in a while, it's not all the time, but to try and like offer to pay for someone's groceries behind me. And so I tried to go, started talking to this guy. Again, it was very light, very like enjoyable conversation. And as I was checking out, I told the cashier, I'm like, hey, I'm going to go pay for this guy's, he had like peanuts and he had, some bread. It was not very much, but he actually refused it. And that's the first time that's ever happened to me. But he refused it. And what he said to me was hey, I really appreciate that. All I need you to do is pray for me. And wow. What that made me think. So I walked out holding this great fish, and I was just thinking to myself, like, not everybody wants, like you said, to be feeling like they can't do it themselves, or that there needs to be a charity, but you have to be able to meet people in the way and the context that works best for them in that moment, which could be different based on situation. And so, I bought a lot of coffees at Starbucks for people, but I found that to be really eye-opening. That, like,
I hear executives speak about they're surprised at the salespeople that engaged with them regularly that weren't there to help them, or when they in their time of need, or speaking about the fact that they wish that they had made their network more of a priority and networking more of a priority, because they were truly execution focused and they thought that would be what saved them. I pulled something to share with you. It's from a book from Harvey Coleman, and it's called Empowering Yourself, the Organizational Game Revealed. And in it, it says that your success as a professional in your career, 60% is about exposure, 10% is performance, and 30% is image. And so I don't have any way to validate that, but I can tell you that, performance is table stakes, I believe. But I do believe also at the same time that having people know what you do and how you do it is incredibly important, not just at your own company, but others. One of the things that I've noticed is a lot of executives are well networked within their company, but if something happens at their company, their network outside of that company is not as robust. And conferences and other networking opportunities can be powerful in terms of building that broader community. So can organizations like Chief and WSIA, as well as many other organizations in our industry.
Yeah, it really is like a superpower to be able to put in the heart, the time, the effort, the selflessness. And actually, I would even walk that back. It's not that it's selfless, it's that it's how can I help and then develop mutual value, right? And build, like you said, bringing the additives to the network, right? So yeah, I think it's great. And when we have these conversations, I love, one thing I really love to do is kind of just hear a great story, right? And I'm sure, over the twists and turns of your remarkable journey, you probably have hundreds of different stories. But Sarah, maybe you could share with us one you're particularly proud of, one where you nurtured a relationship, it's played a role, whether it's been your professional journey, your personal journey, but like what comes to mind for you there?
Early on in my career, I developed a relationship with two other women of different organizations. And we were at the same level in the organization. And we would go out and we'd talk about what we were doing, what we were trying. We'd get new ideas. And then an opportunity came along for me where I was able to go into a stretch role. And having my colleague there and having that other broader experience, it was able to help me move into that stretch role much easier. Fast forward many, many years later until more recently, my colleague and I are at different companies, but we started meeting more regularly and talking about what we wanted to do next and how we were doing our current roles. And it was still very valuable for both of us. And, we were able to progress much further than I think we could have separately. My key point and takeaway from that is, I think many times we think we need to get a mentor, and the mentor has to be some seasoned, really experienced person. well known by everyone. And the reality is we just need to get supporters. You need to get people with different mindsets at different levels of the organization. Maybe not just one mentor, but maybe many. And they can also be your same peers, and you can maintain those over years. It can be very powerful.
Yeah. That's awesome. Thinking about that story and thinking about all of the points that you've shared today. If you have a mentee who's listening to this right now, what would you tell them that, hey, like, here's just one thing that you can do that can help move the needle, building more meaningful connections, building a stronger network, and improving the quality of your interactions? Like, what's the one thing that our listeners can take away that you would share?
My comment would be to make it a priority, because so many times we can put everything else, because it's making ourselves a priority. And so because it's us and ourselves, we can put it at the last priority. So make networking a priority. And if you feel uncomfortable, let's say it's an executive that you want to meet with, is there someone else that you could bring with you and then meet with that executive? Or are there other ways to go about it and create a meaningful experience? It doesn't just have to be me meeting with this person. How can I get a community involved and have an amazing experience? So try to think outside of the box and put yourself out there a little bit, because at the point at which we're ready to try to consider doing it, we can have self-doubt, we can question ourselves, we can go that full spiral. But the reality is we just need to try.
Time to jump in. You've heard it first, ladies and gentlemen, from my friend Sarah here. These have been tremendously valuable insights. I've got pages of notes here, and whether it's being intentional and helping first, doing it daily, putting the effort in, building a community, creating a network that, a group of people that are honestly like designed to help each other get better. All of this is about investing in you, and it takes effort. It takes focus, especially in a world where we're pretty distracted by a lot of things that are happening. But this has been a world-class lesson on the art of building relationships and also the science behind it. And I'm just really grateful, Sarah, for you spending time today. For everyone who's interested in keeping the conversation going, obviously, we'd love to hear what you think. Jump in on the comments. And if you're interested in hearing about how we're taking at Feather technology to help build more momentum into the human connection, into human authenticity, where that fits in, jump over to Feather, www.feather.vip, and learn a little bit more about relationship intelligence and what we're building. My name's Jeremy. This has been Birds of a Feather, and we'll see you next time.